GETTYDan Snow need not lie to his daughters about women in World War II, says Jennifer SelwayHe. He says he did this because he didn't want to expose his daughters to the grim realities of gender relations. He was with his children in an aviation museum and he said, "My daughter was walking down rows and rows and rows of these black and white pictures of Spitfire racers and she was going, boy, 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 boy." He then felt bound to explain to her why all the pictures of women are of them in ball gowns or in formal dress looking quite wooden, and all the pictures of men are of them rampaging around having a great time, being heroic and climbing mountains, shooting things, being soldiers. What's worse? Well, I think it's worse. He showed his girls pictures of the women who flew Spitfires as delivery pilots in the Air Transport Auxiliary and told them they were going into battle. What an insult to those brave women in the ATA, a number of whom lost their lives performing this essential service. And how about the dashing women pilots in the pioneer days of flight? What else should be massaged so as not to upset the equal ones? Anne Boleyn wasn't beheaded by Henry VIII after all. Goodness me no. GETTYDan showed his daughter photos of the Air Transport Auxiliary and said they were going into battle. He had a conscious uncoupling, very much like Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin, and agreed to share childcare and spend quality time as a family. Dan Snow says he lied about the role of women in the Second World War so that his daughters will feel free to follow their dreams. But why wouldn't they feel free to follow their dreams if they were presented with the truth? The real problem with the portrayal of women in history is that they have frequently been overlooked or rendered invisible. But examine the facts, those inconvenient facts, Dan, and a different picture emerges. Getty figureheads like Catherine Parr are the reason why women's history shouldn't be meddled with. For instance, all the guff surrounding the royal wedding would lead you to believe that there hasn't been a single royal consort who wasn't a docile doormat until Meghan the Magnificent came along, notwithstanding the fact that our three most successful monarchs, Elizabeth I and II and Victoria, are female. But what about Henry VI's terrifying wife Margaret of Anjou, who would rustle up an army at the slightest provocation? Henry VIII's sister, who was also Margaret, married James IV of Scotland and then faced off enemies at every turn to act as regent to their son after James was killed in battle against the English. Catherine Parr, Henry VIII's final wife, was not only a canny survivor but she was also the author of the first book published in England by a woman. There are plenty of formidable women who Dan Snow's daughters can take as role models. No fibs needed. Blank underscore blank underscore last Saturday I was in Morocco on a 4-day budget sunshine break. You might say that was a long way to go to avoid a royal wedding, but it was a coincidence. Honest. And to arrive back home in the immediate aftermath was to feel like a Martian gaining its first impressions of life on Earth. Such giddy excitement, such a going on about the preacher, Amal's yellow dress, Doria's dignity, the embroidery on the train, the this, the that. Social media was a million less Dawsons, arms akimbo, sounding off over the digital garden fence. Basically, there were two schools of knee-jerk thought. The miserablest Republican faction shouting that the cost of Meghan's hair grips alone could have paid for 500,000 NHS nurses. The other lot claimed that this was, in the words of the Anthony Newley-Leslie Bricusse song, a new dawn, a new day, and that we were all feeling good. I have nothing much to add except that while the dress was great, Harry's blues and royals get-up was even better. That long, dark dress coat, with those fabulous falderalls down the front, that embossed business on the sleeves. A good-looking man in uniform. Woof blank underscore even people who aren't Tories seem to like the Scottish leader Ruth Davidson. She is young, gay and pregnant, which in these diverse, inclusive times is PR gold. She is relentlessly cheerful like a Tonka truck in human form and has recently ticked off the dreary Sassenachs in Westminster for appearing joyless, authoritarian and hectoring. She means Theresa May, who, if all life can be reduced to the characters in Winnie the Pooh, is Eeyore to Ruth Davidson's Tigger. Mrs. May has said that she is trying to be more cheerful, which is tragic in itself. But could we stand Tigger in charge? Whenever I see Davidson, I'm reminded of big, bossy sporty girls at school whom I took pains to avoid because I preferred reading depressing Sylvia Plath poems with my sleeves pulled over my knuckles. How cheerful do we want our politicians to be anyway? Nigel Farage, remember him, and Tony Blair ultimately did themselves no favors with their insane rictus grins. In politics, as a rule, only religious nutters and despots smile. I prefer my politicians grab and dour, get high. In commemoration of the Manchester bombing was an emotional affair. The events at Manchester this week, to mark the first anniversary of the bombing at the Ariana Grande concert, were immensely moving. But it is naive to think we can manage grief with these public displays, which really only serve to make those who have been untouched feel an emotional connection. Grief and bereavement is a wild, strange and deeply private process. You can be going about your business quite normally and are suddenly broadsided from nowhere by a tidal wave of sadness. In that dark place there is no comfort to be had from any source, though we would all like to believe otherwise. You might think that May 28th was simply Bank Holiday Monday, but in fact it's World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Clear your diary. On a similar theme, a judge ruled this week that a woman sacked for breaching health and safety regulations when she left medicine for menopause problems on her desk had been unfairly dismissed. Quite right too. But the judge also ruled that the menopause is a disability. It's not. It's a process all women go through. It is sometimes requires medical intervention, but so too does pregnancy or menstruation. But neither pregnancy nor menstruation is a disability. Next we'll be told that being a woman is a disability. Talk about overkill. The death of the American author Philip Roth, good writer, objectionable individual, led the BBC News for the whole of Wednesday, and the Today programme was still flogging it on Thursday when they dredged up another adulatory interview with Salman Rushdie. It was one big, and I'm thinking of a four-letter word beginning with W, which in view of the subject matter of his famously shocking novel Part Noise complaint was, admittedly, oddly appropriate. Philip Roth's death has been overkill, according to Jennifer WHO was the anonymous donor who 90 years ago, set up a bank account with a deposit of £500,000. The money was to be ring-fenced until it, with interest and investments, was enough to pay off the national debt, which at that time was £7.5 million. Today the fund has grown to £475 million and the national debt stands at £1.8 trillion. But the government is trying to unlock the account, for small change. It is a wonderful mystery in itself. Who was the benefactor? It's said that in normal private bank accounts there are £850 million of unclaimed assets sloshing around, forgotten because of deaths and the passage of time. Found some ancient premium bonds the other day, which was exciting. Surely, one of them must have come up. Nope. Not a bean. Being a sucker for tales of doomed love and heartbreak, I wondered how Harry's ex Chelsea Davy was feeling at the wedding, and my gut felt further wrenched to read that she had a tearful phone call with him before the big day. Oh dear. 8 years since the split up and she's still not over him. Mind you, 8 years is nothing. It could be a lifetime of yearning and regret in store. Poor woman.